We're live, man.
All right, my friends, welcome here to today's Hangout. My name is Garrett J. White, the Master Coach Mentor, and I will be your host as well as your moderator today as we dive into a deep conversation about what it means today in today's marketplace as a modern realtor to be successful and to go from a hustling realtor who's not getting paid a whole lot, who's exhausted over the top with the way they're living their
All
game,
right,
their
my
business,
friends,
and living their
welcome
life,
today.
and the flip side of what it looks like to be a high-paid realtor in today's marketplace. We're getting some feedback from somebody's computer. I'm not sure whose that is. We might have gotten that handled. All right, cool. And so my guest, our lead trainer today, and the individual we're going to spend most of our time with is going to be Adam Stark, as well as his partner in crime and one of the participants in the Big Money Realtor program, a man we like to call simply John. So welcome to today's Hangout. Adam, let's get started here real quickly. Why don't we start with answering the first question. Who is Adam Stark? And then we're going to move into a few questions from there. And let's just set some groundwork for individuals who may have met you before and those who may have not met you before. But who's Adam Stark? And then let's talk a little bit else from real estate today.
Well, thanks, Garrett. Well, first off, I got to commend you on getting it right with realtor. A lot of people like to say realtor. So congratulations on that, man. You got that part right.
Roll. I took a 20-minute training course on it at ask.com on how to say realtor. It took me 19 minutes and a half to figure it out, and now I'm here. So we're good.
Well, there's some realtors out there who don't know how to say it, so I just thought I'd point that out to you. So who's Adam Stark? Well, I am a realtor, and I have been for the last 4.5 years. For some of those people who may be watching live and you've seen the video series, I won't get a lot into my back-end story, but I'll kind of fast forward and kind of take you over the last couple years and how I developed this program, how I came about doing this, and offering this type of thing for realtors like John and Jason, if he's going to hop on here, and a few other people in the program. So, basically I got into the real estate business in a time period that, most would have said I was nuts. I had a few actually tell me that back in, 2008, 2009 when I kind of rolled into this whole thing. And, at the time, I think the housing market was kind of right in the dumps. At that time, I didn't know anything about real estate. I didn't know anything about business. I had never done anything in sales. I was really just a broke kid that was kind of fresh out of college and just kind of happened to stumble into this whole industry. And at the time, had no idea, what the hell I was actually getting into. My ignorance, honestly, looking back, my ignorance was probably a blessing in disguise because all of those things that most realtors who had been in the industry 5, 10, 15 years and it had really experienced the wave of the good times. I hear about this. It's like hanging out with the elders of like an old Indian tribe. I hear about the good times when the real estate market was really booming. And there are some markets out there right now that are coming back. Our market in particular is starting to gain some room. But I heard these stories about people would have like just the standard traditional open house and 30 people would roll through the door. They'd have multiple offers by the time that hour was over. And so I went out on my first open house. I used to beg realtors in my office when I first started to please let me do one of your open houses. And I got there, and literally the only thing I would ever hear would be crickets. And so it was like the river had run dry. And so the training I'd had up to that point was an old Tom Hopkins DVD that my Coldwell Banker office at the time had hooked me up with. I went home and watched it. I don't know what year it was from, but it literally looked like from 1972. The one thing I will say about Tom Hopkins is I would consider him to probably be the godfather of real estate coaching and training. A lot of the things that he trained on, some of it's still applicable today, some of it's completely outdated. Having said that, I had a lot of ups and downs over the next 4 years. I went from being a single guy and broke to struggling in the real estate business, to becoming engaged, to attending a lot of different events, programs, hiring mentors, coaches, and then having a child, becoming a father, got another one on the way, having success, having failures, and then took myself, developed a system from all the training that I had, and put myself in the top 1% in my marketplace in less than 6 months when I really got clear about what was actually working and what wasn't working. So today I am a realtor, I'm an entrepreneur, and I am a proud leader of some realtors who are wanting to do exactly what I've done, opening up the door to my business and kind of showing them what I'm doing, what works, cutting through all the BS, because there's a lot of people selling that out there right now, and there's a lot of good stuff, and I've done all of it. I've been through all the programs, I've paid all the price, and one thing I was always really good at, and again, was probably my ignorance, was I was never really afraid to implement things in my business. And so I always had that shoot first, ask questions later mentality. And because of that, I learned a lot of lessons along the way. And what I learned more than anything else is what actually works to get results in real estate and what doesn't. Right? There's a lot of fluff and a lot of filler and a lot of fancy things with sparkling lights. The reality of it is, the things that actually work in the real estate business, to start out and laying the foundation is a lot of nitty gritty, get your hands dirty type of stuff. So today I am enjoying a lot of success in the real estate business, much more honestly than I ever thought I would when I started. Like I said, it was something I stumbled into. Just happened to really fall in love with the atmosphere, the work that actually is done in this industry. And so from that, here I am being able to coach and mentor other realtors who are in similar places that I've been in the past. I'm able to relate to them and be able to really offer them a shortcut to getting wherever it is that they want to go. So that's who I am in a more drawn out nutshell than I had anticipated.
I like it. You know what I always wonder? I always wonder where this nutshell idea came from, right? I don't know. It's kind of like saying realtors, nutshell, it's in a nutshell. I knew you were going to say nutshell because I would have said nutshell, and I started wondering why we would say nutshell. And that led me to another thought, and that thought is this. In your video series found at bigmoneyrealtors.com, realtors.com, there I was, my big moment to shine in, and we didn't. One of the things that you talk about that when you also posted this up on Facebook, you put it on blog posts, and this became a very viral piece of content that you ultimately made into a really, really powerful piece of training found at bigmoneyrealtors.com, was this idea of this process that realtors go through, of this hustle phase to this highly paid experience. And why don't you spend some time talking a little bit about it, because I think it's a great transition before we bring John in and we start talking about what the Big Money Realtor program is all about. And why it works and how it's working, etc. But this concept impacted me. I'm not even in real estate right now. I used to be in mortgages, but I'm not even in real estate at all anymore. And yet, for me and many others, inside and outside the industry, had a huge impact. So let's start there and talk a little bit about this distinction between being a hustling realtor, which 99% are, and this high-paid experience of the elite 1%, where you've moved yourself into and you're taking your guys in your program.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, I just gotta rewind a little bit and go back. When I started, obviously, well, let's go to the hustle stage, right? Because this is when I really discovered like what got me to that point, where I was before, what got me to this point, and then developing, the system, the understanding, and the map to get me to the next level. So there was a time in late 2012, early 2013 when I was like hustling like crazy, man. I was making more money than I'd ever made before in my life. Let alone in real estate. And what I realized at a certain point, and Garrett, I think this is around the time that I first met you, and what happened in my life was I realized that, yes, I was making a lot of money, more than I ever had. I thought whenever I made that much money, like all of my problems would somehow dissipate and go away, and I was just going to have this like relaxing life while money was just filling up my pockets. It really was the furthest thing from the truth, right? So I put myself in a position where I literally almost tripled my business in a 6 to 12 month period of time. But I was hustling every single day, hustling down buyers, sellers, knocking on doors, making phone calls, doing a lot of the things that traditional real estate training would tell you needs to happen. But what happened was when I got to the point where I was hustling nonstop, is I didn't have any time. My wife at the time, it was my fiance. She was pregnant with my first child, and I started realizing that what became most important to me was going to be not so much the money, while that's always still important for us. It became time. I wanted some of my time back, and I really got to thinking, like, how the hell did I get to this point? What really got me to a place where I was making this much money? And I look back at when I first started and how I was struggling, and I just started thinking like I was doing nothing at that time but just hoping to get paid. And it got me from that hope stage where most realtors start out. Some of the people who may be watching this still may be, and some people spend their entire career there before they head out of the business because they can't make any money. So for me at that time in the hope stage, we have a very limited understanding, at least I did, of marketing, sales, systems, sales conversations. I viewed myself in a way that I wasn't worth very much, which is what most realtors do, why they cut their commission, why they're willing to overprice properties just to get a listing, why they're willing to take buyers out and not pre-approve them and just go show them property. That's what hopers do. Anybody with a pulse, anybody who can breathe, that becomes a potential client. And so when I look back at that and I realized what got me to the hustle stage is when I started seeing myself different, when I started seeing my clientele differently, when I took a different approach and picked up some skill sets, right? So that's where the mindset side came from, is how I saw myself and how I saw my clients. How did I see the way that I was doing business differently then than I did in the, at the hope stage as opposed to the hustle stage? And then I realized what happened was I went to a couple conventions, picked up some skill sets in the areas of marketing, although it was still very limited. But I also, the one thing that I conclude in that marketing section of the Big Money Map, is sales conversations. What I became was a sales Jedi. I thought that's all I needed to have. I just needed to become really good at having sales conversations, and from there everything would take off. And it did. I was making a lot of money, but what I didn't have was, the filtering systems. I didn't really have, this marketing system set up where things were automated. Things, the direct response type of marketing. I didn't have any of that. I was still running ads in the paper, the big expensive ads that were, high cost, low return. I was putting my face on local diner tables, randomly mailing, areas, what they call farming. Some people call it fishing. I was doing all that. And again, you would get some business from that, but where most of my business was coming from was knocking on doors, picking up the phone, and just calling people, right? And I thought there has to be a better way, because if I don't figure out something differently, if I just have to sit around and hammer phones all the time, I'll never be able to get to a place where I have more time. And that's where that highly paid stage came from, where I thought, what can I do to get from, I knew what happened to get from the hustle stage. And I thought if I just applied the same thing but in an upgraded way, which is the mindset, marketing, and money aspects, I could get to the highly paid. Now, the money was something that came at the very end. It was something that I started implementing. It was completely unheard of. I can remember going out to the national convention these last couple of years and telling people about this, the things that I was doing, and realtors would look at me like I was insane. Like, there's no way you could do that in my marketplace. Our marketplace average commission is 4%. There's no way anybody would pay you up front. So the way that I got to the highly paid, number one, was I started becoming more concentrated on not so much sales, but on the marketing aspect, really becoming a marketer who could sell, who just happened to sell real estate, instead of just a salesman who happened to sell real estate. And that's where I really made the shift. Now, the money aspect came from, I knew that I was offering a value, right? There was these programs, guarantees, consumer products that I was offering to both buyers and sellers, along with the marketing strategies that I had to generate an endless number of seller and buyer leads. I thought, for my services, I feel like my time's worth more than what the average agent is, because I'm going above and beyond. So I started implementing, strategies that would allow me to collect not only money, higher commissions, but money up front, to get clients to financially commit with me before we ever do business, and then also on the back end. Now, there's a reason why we do this. Number one, money on the front end allows you to offset marketing costs, so that you're not coming out of pocket for clients. We've all had sellers who have listed their home. Maybe they listed it because they had a home they wanted to buy, and that was the only reason they wanted to list, which would be really kind of an unmotivated seller, someone that I would caution taking on unless you really thought you could get the deal done on both ends. But we all been there where we take on a seller and they've decided not to sell. And we're out all this marketing costs. I mean, most of the expenses that realtors are going to go through as far as marketing is concerned, especially with the seller, is going to come out of pocket within the first 2, 3, 4 weeks. Right? Now, not that we don't continue to pay money, but that's like the huge chunk to get that marketing blitz up front. And nothing hurts worse than when a seller decides to sell, and as a realtor, you have no recourse. And I realized that I could never spend time in the highly paid area with the top 1%, with the big dogs, the big players in this industry. There's no way you can get up to that point if you're running your business like the bottom 20%. Mm-hmm. So I started collecting money up front. Now, I started small, and then I went a little bit bigger, and it helped me offset my marketing. So my clients were not only committing financially, but more committed to the process of doing real estate business with me, but it also helped me not have to come out of pocket and spend all this money on marketing, but it allowed me to actually do more, right? So they're paying for the small things, and I was able to go above and beyond and out-market my competition, which was what has made me so attractive as a realtor, as a listing agent. Then I higher commissions because I just believe my time's worth more. And then on the back end, the fees that we're collecting on the back end allow us to offset our personnel costs so that we can hire people to free up our time. So what we've done is we've used our clients in a way, and I don't say use, that's kind of a bad word, but we're using the client's money, right, in a way to offset so that we can have more time, so we can do better business, do more for them, and allow us to free up our time so we can go spend it how we want while we're able to make more money on the higher commission side. It's the only way the top 1% are doing it. And once I figured this out, I have literally found that there's probably 1% or less of realtors across the country who are running their business this way. And people think because that number is so small that that's not the way to do it. But these guys are making more money. They're the top 1% for a reason. They're making more than 99% of the people who have the real estate license. And so that's the model that I adopted. It fit, I developed my business in a way that fit the lifestyle that I wanted to live. And the cool thing about the system and the strategies that I use is they're completely scalable. So it doesn't matter how big or how small you want to have your business. It's all dependent on you. But the scalingness of it is what makes it so attractive, and what makes it so interesting is what made me want to go out and show other realtors that there's a way to do this. If you're struggling, if you're not getting the leads that you want, you're not converting, you're not making the money, it becomes a whirlwind because there's just so much out there for realtors to do. There's so much information coming at you. And this is just a perfect, this was a perfect opportunity for me to show other realtors that you can get out of wherever you are. Hope, hustle, highly paid, doesn't matter. Wherever you are, there's a simple map to get out of that place and move on to the next level. But unless you take on that map, there is no way. Most realtors will spend their entire career hustling until they're just overweight, stressed to the max, and 75 years old and running buyers around. If that's what you want to do, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not judging that. That's just not what I wanted to do. That's not what John wants to do. And that's not what the realtors who come into my program are wanting to do. They're wanting to have more money, have more time, have more freedom and accessibility in their life while continuing to dominate in their market, and there's just no other way to do it.
Beautiful. Okay, so we've laid out the foundation for what the process looks like, or this evolution, and the Big Money Realtors program is really about taking entrepreneur realtors to this whole other level as marketers and sales pros and turning them into these high-paid professionals like you become. Let's answer one little question I'm sure that's on the minds of those who might be watching this Hangout. Like, why train? Right? So this is a question that comes up quite a bit for people who end up running primary businesses and on the side of it or with it as a counterpart experience are training other people in their industry. Some would say this is stupid, that you shouldn't do it because it's going to create competition. Flip side is that others are saying, well, listen, if you're doing so well with your systems in your own business, why in the world would you spend time to train or teach anybody? So why don't we answer those two questions, and then we can dive in and have a conversation here with John, who's one of the participants in the Big Money Realtors program. And those who are watching this right now, one thing I would encourage you, if you want more of a detailed training on that exact concept of the hope to hustle to high paid, the experience as a realtor, I'm telling you, this presentation that Adam created at bigmoneyrealtors.com. Again, bigmoneyrealtors.com, going to do huge wonders for you. If you're already in that video series and consuming it, and it's time for you to quit being the hustling realtor, well, I'd encourage you to apply and see if you're a fit for the Big Money Realtors program. Adam, so let's address this idea. Why train right now? Why even invest any time, energy, or money into John? I mean, John, you're a nice guy, dude. You're a badass. I get it. But on the flip side, like, why even do this? Because it's going to be a question people are asking.
No, absolutely. Well, it's a question I've already gotten multiple times, and probably the easiest way that I can answer this, because it was something that I contemplated on for a long time. Because it's true. I mean, my real estate business gives me everything that financially that I need, in my life. But here's one thing that I've always learned from other mentors and coaches. Teaching people does a couple things. Number one, it allows me to give back to the industry that I felt has given so much to me. This is something I wanted. Like, I always, about 4 years ago when I started getting the self-help motivational books and all that, the Zig Ziglars, the Brian Tracy's. Like, I always had this idea because I would go around and talk to people about the stuff that I would learn in this book, and people would get excited, and then that would make me excited. And one thing that it always, and I'm just talking back then, it used to reiterate everything that I ever learned in those books when I'd go out and I'd talk about it and I'd get people motivated. Even though I wasn't obviously making any money off this, I learned that a couple things. Number one, it allows me to give back, right? It allows me to help people. Number two, there's some financial gain here. But number three, and probably most importantly than anything else, when I'm able to teach guys like John, teach gals like Nicole's in our group, teach guys like Jason, all these guys and gals that are coming in, when I'm able to teach, it makes me better at what I do. It's always reiterating it, so it just gives me an extra opportunity to come out and keep talking about the things, right? If we just read a book one time or went to a training program one time and we never opened it back up, never looked at it or talked about it again, it's going to be very ineffective, which I know is what most of you realtors are doing. You go to these programs, the reason why they're not working out for you in a lot of ways is because you're not implementing, you're not consistently talking and working and doing it. So for me, to come on and be able to coach these guys and gals, main thing for me, it just continuously reiterates the things that I'm teaching. I have to practice what I preach, so it makes me go out and work harder. I don't want any of these guys or gals coming into my program and one-upping me on what I'm teaching them to do. I don't want them doing it better than I do it. So it just, that's probably number one. But obviously there's those other things. There is, a financial opportunity for my family to add on top of what I'm doing in real estate, and it allows me to give back because I probably, if people really knew where I was at before I got into real estate, you would understand like how grateful I am for the opportunities that this industry gave me, and the people that have been involved, the people that I've met, the friendships, the relationships. Like it, I just felt called to do it, and everything else was just kind of a bonus for me.
Got it. Okay, well, beautiful. With that being said, you do have one of many of your students who joined us today on the Hangout, and I thought it'd be appropriate to kind of hand some time over to you. And John, we've actually got you muted out on accident, buddy. If you want to click the unmute button on your side, you're going to go up to your control center there and just click on mute. There you go, buddy. And Adam, I'm going to have you kind of take John through some conversation here and talk a little bit about, it's one thing to talk about a program from the aspect of the person who created it. It's another thing to talk about a program from the aspect of a student who invested in it and who is experiencing it and is who living it. So, Adam, I'm going to turn time over to you, buddy, and you and John, let's have a little conversation and see where it takes us.
Yeah. So, John was one of the first guys to really give me an opportunity to coach him. So he was one of the first guys I got on the phone with. So I'm excited that he's here, on this call with us today. We've for some time conflicts, obviously we couldn't get a couple of people in. But John, everybody who's watching, where were you when you started? What ultimately was it, that caused you to reach out to me? When we first had our first conversation, what was it overall? Where were you at in your business at that time?
Thanks, Adam. Let me know if you guys can hear me okay. So basically, I was in the more of the hustle stage. I left a cushy corporate America job, just got miserable with it, went into real estate. Everyone thought I was crazy, but I was like, I'm going to make this work. I'm going to prove everybody wrong, and I had a good start, but I was constantly hustling for my business, and I was doing well, doing pretty good, and had goals I set in the beginning of the year, and I actually met them. But what it did is I gained 15 pounds. I burned through a relationship. I wouldn't say miserable. I was happy I was building a successful business, but I knew I needed to make some changes because I knew I couldn't do that again. So I started to get out there and start interviewing coaching programs. And I looked at some of the bigger names, Mike Ferry, Tom Ferry, all those types of people, and you're getting coached by a coach who's never sold a house. So I always had a little issue with that. So how is this guy going to really help me when I could probably do a better job than that person could if they just gave me the materials? Then I came across Adam. Him and I had some good conversations, and primarily to the fact that I threw everything in the kitchen sink at him as far as rebuttals go and why I shouldn't work with him, and he was able to handle those very, very well. So I knew he knew his stuff. But the other thing is he's really doing it. He's out there in the field selling houses, and there's no other coach out there who's doing that. There just isn't. And nobody gets sold to, and this is a fact, you can look it up, nobody gets sold to more than realtors out there right now. So many different products and programs and coaching. So I went through them all. I talked to them all. And I ended up just saying, let me move forward with this guy. Let me give him a shot and see if he can impact my business.
Awesome. So specifically, I know coming in, you were in that place where you had spent a whole entire year hustling. Honestly, it had taken its toll. For some, it may go longer, right? For some, it's shorter and they can't handle the pressure. For you, you decided to make a change in your business. And what is, just on some of our first calls, what was, some of the initial thoughts on some of the things that I gave you, some of the things we covered? Kind of give the people that are watching this a little bit better understanding of the experience that you went through, and then some of the things that have come from that, and what do you see happening for you as you move forward throughout the rest of the year, based on what we're doing in this program.
Well, most people out there are going to tell you got to do the online marketing pretty much primarily, and your Zillow and your Trulia, and let those companies run your business. That's not what we're focused on here. I was able to actually cut down what I'm spending with those guys and start investing it so people could start calling me who want to talk to me and not just the property, which nobody else is doing right now, so that's been really effective. But some of the other things, my biggest learning right up front, and I was a sales and marketing director for Fortune 100 companies, and I realized that my sales skills started to suck. And it's like working out. If you don't work on those and work on the process and the sales funnel, your conversations aren't as good as they could be. So, I mean, that was a huge takeaway. And by working with Adam on the actual conversation piece, on the listing presentation, on a buyer's presentation, which kind of interviewing buyers as opposed to just getting in the car, running around, showing houses, opening doors, it's really not an effective use of time. You need to start interviewing people, have a little bit higher value for your own time. Through those trainings and continually practicing it has helped me charge higher commissions, choose who I work with a little more wisely, and in turn, I've been making more dollars per hour than just running around like crazy. So those are the initial things that you can implement right away that are going to help your business dramatically.
Cool, man. So, one of the first things, we went over, and I go over with everyone because it is so important, is laying out the foundation of your business, right? So if you want to have a system in place that double your business, again, it's scalable. You can grow it by 50%. You can grow it by 200%, right, depending on how much you want to work. But one of the first things we did, John, and again, things that I do with everyone, is helping to build out the map, right, the system to actually doubling your business, getting very crystal clear on what it is that needs to happen every single day, every single week, every single month, quarter, etc., in order for you to hit those goals. How important do you feel that was? Because I know, because when we first had a conversation, you wanted all the marketing. You said, just let me have all the marketing, and that's what I need. And the thing is, most realtors think that way, but how important do you think it is now, having built out the map, knowing exactly what needs to happen every single day, week, month, blah, blah, blah. How important do you feel that is, John, to keeping you clear and helping you actually achieve the goals that you've set for yourself? Because you've set some pretty big ones this year. So what do you feel? What's the importance level for that for you?
Well, I was definitely going through the goals where I don't want to say floating through, but I wasn't as clear and specific on my daily activities and what I need to do, how many calls I need to make, what type of marketing am I doing for that day. So I was worried about more on a larger scale, and we really dialed it in for really what I need to do each day and week, which then compounds into the months, which compounds into the quarters, which compounds into the years. And that's something I just wasn't doing. So that gives you that clearer picture so you can hold yourself more accountable to achieving the larger picture goal, which everybody usually just looks at, I want to make this year. Well, that's great, but you know what? 3 months, 4 months goes by, you're behind. Well, now I can look back. This is why I'm behind, or this is why I'm ahead. This is really working, this wasn't working, or I need to spend more time on this activity because this is where I'm getting my results. And just spending money on marketing isn't going to do that. You really need to figure out what you're doing, what activities are you're focusing on, so you can go ahead and get the results and hold yourself accountable.
Cool. So one of the things that will make or break every realtor, I don't care how big or small you are, is knowing your numbers, right? Either knowing them or not knowing them. If you don't know your numbers, and what I mean by that is specifically conversion rates on everything that's important, actually getting you results in your business, getting you paid. If you don't know that, then everything just becomes a bunch of guessing work. And that at the end of the year, let's just say you want to make $250,000, $250,000 at the end of the year. And in a lot of marketplaces, that's going to be a good income. For some, maybe it's on the smaller end, but I'm just using that as a round number. For most people looking at $250,000, think, how the hell am I actually going to achieve that? Well, if you don't break it down, if you don't know your numbers, if you don't know exactly what you're supposed to be doing, what your conversion rates are on everything, and tracking it, the hardest part was coming together and just putting it all in one place, getting clear about it, and then the tracking becomes very easy. Then it's just a matter of manipulating and moving some numbers around each month to ensure that you're always hitting your goals, right? So if you get behind on 1 month, you know what needs to happen the next month to catch you up. And I think that was very important. In our conversation, was getting you very clear. Same thing that I do with everyone is making sure you get clear. Some of that stuff sounds elementary, but nobody does it. Once I started doing that, once I really became clear, I use that system to double my business every single year. So, Don, on some of the marketing things, one of the things I think that realtors have such a really good ability of doing is overcomplicating everything, making everything seem as though it has to be harder than it is. And one of the things that I think we talked about that I got you clear on, in order to really be successful in this industry, we had to focus our attention on the sellers. That doesn't mean we don't work with buyers. It doesn't mean that we shun buyers or don't pick up the phone when buyers are calling. But if you're going to really have that type of business, it's going to give you the freedom you're looking for. It's going to give you the most amount of money. You got to have a seller-centered business in this industry, because otherwise, you're going to have your time controlled by your clients as opposed to controlling time with your clients, right? I kind of broke the building up a massive listing inventory down to 3 simple. But John, how important do you think that is for you, and what do you feel with some of the consumer products, programs, and guarantees that we've given you? How do you feel if that's helped you gain control and understanding of the importance of the seller centered business, and what do you feel it's done for you in regards to the way you're approaching your business at this point as opposed to before?
Yeah, I think before, obviously sellers is the key to the business in real estate. If you're not working with sellers, you're either really hustling or you're going to be out of business. So getting real clear on different strategies that were different than what everybody else was doing is huge. It allows you to have more conversations with sellers who really want to sell your home. But the biggest thing, even bigger than that, is now with my conversations, I'm providing more value. We have different programs and guarantees in place that no other realtors in my marketplace are offering at all. They're unheard of. So when I have these conversations with people, they're intrigued, they're engaged, and they want to hear more. As opposed to, well, how much can I sell my house for, and what's your commission? Those were the two key factors everybody wanted to talk about. Now it's like, tell me more about that. Well, how does that program and guarantee work? How does that system work? Okay, so now I'm adding more value. And what happens with that is then when we get to the commission structure, everybody in my marketplace is pretty much charging the same commission, even the most successful agents. Well, I'm able to charge now at least 1% more than any of them. And I'm getting it. And I'm having very little pushback, which actually equates to me getting paid even more because I'm still offering the buyer's agent the same amount that I was before. And I'm just keeping all of that extra for myself. For every transaction, I'm making a lot more money. So between those things, having more people to talk to break it down is key, which is what this system provided me. Having more meaningful conversations with in my interactions, which I'm creating more value for my clients, which equals them hiring me more. And then the icing on the cake is I'm getting paid more. And it's not that I'm really doing any more work, I'm just working smarter, and the results are there.
Cool. So basically the way that I've broken down, and when I look back and say, okay, how did I go from having 2 to 37 listings in a matter of 6 months, right? I went out and just built this big listing inventory. And in our marketplace, that's big. I don't know about everyone else's marketplace. What I do know is numbers can change slightly as far as what's impressive and what's not. But there's only one other agent in town who's got a team of about 10 people who even carries close to the number of listings that I do on a given period of time. And one of the things that I figured out that there's really only one way to do it, because you could sit around and hammer phones all day long and go on appointments all night long, or you can implement basically 3 simple steps that allow you to build up that listing inventory. What I teach you guys, number 1 is the direct response and comprehensive campaigning strategy we do both on and offline. Right, so this gets people contacting you as opposed to you sitting around having to contact them. Now, I'm not saying that calling people, and obviously, John, you know this, at this point, building that momentum, getting that foundation laid is going to require you to reach out and have conversations up front, right? Until you build up that inventory, until you know your conversion rates, you're going to have to make calls, and you know that. And anybody who's watching this, I'm not saying that never pick up the phone. That's important. If you only got 1 or 2 listings right now and you're looking to build a massive listing inventory, it comes down to direct response and comprehensive campaigning strategy you do both on and offline, as well as being able to have sales conversations, knowing the dialogue, right? Because you got to make phone calls, but people are still going to be calling you, and so you got to know what to say, when to say it, how to say it, and then how to close on that conversation to get to the appointment, and then ultimately having the programs, guarantees, and consumer products. Without those 3 things, you're always going to be the guy who's carrying around 2, 3, 4 listings, maybe. Maybe you got up to 10 because you made some extra calls that month, but the whole point of this program is to show you how to make more by doing less, right? By spending more time. It's not easy, but it's simple. And so that's basically the 3 steps. And John, I think you hit it pretty, nailed the right on the head there with the higher commissions and all these things. The program's guarantees the way you market, the way you present yourself, the way you reposition, brand, and package yourself, and then put it out there to the marketplace. Like, that is what's going to be the determining factor of whether or not someone sees the value in you and is agreeing to pay you that extra % or two, as well as front and back end, right? Because the cost for our clients, that only becomes an issue in the absence of value. So what I've done is created a way to create a perception of extra value because I felt that was worth it. Plus, I'm offering more, and so people are always willing to pay you. So great job on as far as that goes. So John, any last words, man? I know we're trying to keep this thing. Garrett, what's our time right now? I don't even have anything in front of me. Tell me how long we've been on here.
Yeah, well, we've gone now officially 9 hours. So the only person who's still here is 77, and has been feverishly taking notes with a charcoal stick from a bonfire. Now, just playing, man, you're doing good. Here's one thing I would love for you to speak to real quick, because you and John have both been saying it, and I think both of you are taking it for granted. The fact that most realtors do not have a clue what the hell you mean by it, which is direct response. And so you're both coming from this premise. Maybe it might be helpful and useful for realtors who do not get this. There was a long time I had no idea what this meant, and didn't understand the significance to why you as an individual with 1 or 2 people on a team could compete with a realtor team of 10 to 12 people because you understand direct response versus a realtor who has no clue what direct response means. So why don't you spend a second talking about that, because I know this is one of the crucial pieces inside the Big Money Realtors program. And again, if you're here watching this and that's a video series you have not participated in yet, I would encourage you to head on over to bigmoneyrealtors.com. Check out that free video series. One of the big pieces in there, again, is going to be that acclaimed, arguably one of the best realtor training videos on understanding the concept and rise to becoming a high-paid realtor in today's marketplace. And then, John, I'm going to spin back around and ask you a couple of questions, too. But, Adam, why don't we start with you here on direct response? What in the world are we talking about here, bro?
Yeah, so, direct response was honestly a concept that I didn't understand. But once I started, basically, we're going to go back and I'm going to use that nutshell analogy. I'm going to kind of put this in a nutshell because I could probably ramble on for an hour or so.
I just love that you're bringing a nutshell back into the conversation. I mean, I knew you'd loop it somehow back in here. I like it. So take us on direct response in a nutshell. Seriously, we have got to figure out where this whole nutshell conversation came from. But, all right, continue. In your nutshell or outside your nutshell, direct response.
So inside the nutshell, basically what direct response is, and the way that I've made this, I think, even more successful is by adding in some things that will basically direct response is we send something out, we get someone to raise their hand, right? So this isn't the traditional marketing of just, hey, I just listed a house, right? And we send out a postcard to everyone, okay, right? So the clients are thinking, what's in it for them, right? What's good? What's so great about that, right? The whiz gap is what I've always put. What's so great about that? So direct response is the way that we market, whether it be online, offline. There's great strategies on both sides of that spectrum. But basically what we're doing is we're getting people to not only, in what I'm doing, not only just to raise their hand, right? So we're either capturing information online, getting them to funnel into, either the video series that I have for buyer and seller clients, right? So I put something out there, they direct response, or, the offline stuff that I do that gets people contacting me. So we're sending out something in the marketing space. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as you understand what direct response is. We send it out in a way that gets people to contact us, to come back and directly respond to us based on that marketing piece. The way that I've made this so successful, at least for the real estate business, is I've branded myself by results, right? So everything that I don't post a bunch of stuff about, hey, I just listed this house or I just listed that house anywhere. I don't mail. I do a little bit of mailing, but that's not the point of those mailings. Is only for marketing purposes for my seller clients, not to get a direct response necessarily. But so some of the things that I'm putting out there for what I'm doing to get sellers specifically to directly respond is I'm using the performance guarantees we have, the programs and guarantees. Get people to contact us and say, what the hell is that? I brand it with results. Because all I'm talking about is I sold this, I sold this, I sold this. I basically, by using these strategies, have repositioned myself and created a perception in my marketplace that I'm the guy. I'm the guy who gets results. And I kind of stumbled upon this. It wasn't something I didn't know about direct response when I started implementing some of these strategies. It was something that I learned over time and then really went back and, really kind of put some fine tuning on these strategies. But essentially, again, in a nutshell, direct response is something we put out to the marketplace, a marketing piece, and we get people to directly respond to us. I mean, when you really nail this thing down and when you really come up with something like I have, the conversion rates go through the roof, which means I don't have to sit around and make cold calls anymore. I haven't made one in over 18 months, right? But somehow I'm still listing 7 to 10 properties every single month because I get people to directly respond. It allows me to filter, right? I don't have to call people. If they call back, if they raise their hand, they're interested. So now you've been left with direct response. The most beautiful thing is what direct response marketing leaves you with is only people who want to do, are ready to do business, who want to do business with you. That's half the selling process is done. All you have to do is pick up the phone, have a quick conversation, and close the appointment. But other marketing pieces and stuff we send out, we don't really know what's happening. People aren't always responding, and so that's the beauty. And again, in short, with what direct response is and what it does for you in your business, is for me, what I found is that it just cut out. I didn't have to sell myself anymore. People were calling, and granted, I still go through the selling process and the listing presentation, but they were calling wanting to meet with me. My phone was blowing up. People wanted to know more about these programs and guarantees. They wanted me to come out and have a conversation with them. I didn't have to. I was like, holy, I don't have to pick up the phone and go through the whole script of, is this the owner and when will you be interested in interviewing agents for the job of getting your home sold. I don't have to do that stuff anymore. Nobody really likes to cold call, and so by becoming, again, as I said earlier, a marketer who can sell, who happens to sell real estate, by becoming that guy, that's when I really entered the top 1%. That's why I can compete with these big teams who are still hammering out the Realtor.com and the Trulia leads that they have to dig through and make calls all day long. That's the biggest difference. Is I'd like what was it, Moses who spread the seed? I basically just spread out all of the crap leads, and what I'm left with, it may be fewer, but all of them want to do business. And so I'm just able to, everyone that I go meet with, I'm meeting with 2 people tonight who want to list, all from my direct response marketing last week. We got 3 calls listed, 1 last week, listened to today, and again, this will happen. We're doing 7 or 10 a month. I'm gonna go. I've met with these people, like they're sold. I follow up this morning. All I've had to do is spend 15 minutes with them in a walkthrough, make a phone call to follow up on our appointment. That they're gonna come here into my office. They're gonna stare right at this perseverance poster, and they're gonna sign the listing agreement for a higher commission. We're gonna get paid on both fronts. So just in the 2 meetings tonight, I should walk out with somewhere in the neighborhood of $1,300-$1,400, which allows me to go take my wife out this weekend. And of course pay for some marketing and stuff for the seller. So it just all turns into a really beautiful thing. When it really works, it's magic.
So I actually heard that John is opposed to this whole direct response thing. He actually enjoys cold calling 14 hours a day to apartment renters about buying their first home. John, that's how things were going down for you before the I'm just kidding, buddy. So talk to me about one transition here for you. So you're hearing Adam talk about direct response. You're hearing him talking about front end and back end fees. You're hearing all this conversation. You're going along. You're having success, 6-figure year for you plus in real estate. And you're coming back and saying, listen, I'm gonna take a look at this. You've seen all these other programs. You've seen all these other trainers. Biggest reason why you decided to invest yourself in Big Money Realtors, the mastermind program with Adam, talk about what were you hoping to find by coming, and what have you found?
Well, I think the biggest thing, I came in for a couple different reasons, but the biggest thing is the programs and what we're doing is different. So I could go ahead and duplicate what everybody else is doing, or I could do something different and separate myself from the competition, which in real estate or any competitive business and marketplace is crucial. Duplication, you might get some results, but you're going to be spinning your wheels competing with people doing the same thing. So that was a big thing for me. And really honing in, getting the right marketing systems in place and having more systematized, if I'm saying that correctly, was really important to me. But also, through my conversations with Adam, I realized that, even spending my whole career in sales and marketing, man, my sales skills started to not be as good. So I had to really get back in the gym with Adam and work that out so I can get it up to level. So now that I have more leads coming in and calling me, but I'm having more effective conversations with them, I'm providing more value, I'm now charging higher commissions. So, I mean, that's really the scenario that you have, that you have people calling you as opposed to investing your money in more internet leads, making more phone calls with people that don't want to talk to you. They just want you to open a door. and they may or may not buy. And if you go away that weekend, they're off to the next realtor. Well, now I have these programs and systems in place where I'm listing more properties, which gets you more buyers. But even when I am working with a buyer, which I still work with buyers, I have systems and programs in place for them where if I'm not available that day, that's okay. They'll wait, and they will wait. And I've had a few deals where I just was out of town. I'm making money, I'm traveling, I have other obligations, and people waited for me, which never happened before because of the systems and programs I have in place. And I'm just really providing more value. Everybody wants to provide more value, and everybody wants to talk to the guy who's providing more value, and now that's me. With my whole branding now on social media and different aspects as well that we learn in the program that we didn't even talk about today, that only solidifies that. So when people are going to search for me now, oh, I got your letter, let me look you up, or I see on your website, let me look you up. Well, now everything supports that. Everything I'm doing online supports my message, and it's huge.
I love it. So one last question for you, John. Overall, you've got the social media strategies going to play, the direct response campaigns, both offline and online, are happening. You're getting mentoring every week with Adam, masterminding with other realtors every single week. What has this done to your overall confidence and certainty about your business today and where you see it heading the rest of 2014?
Well, there's a couple levels to that. One is that I'm having more meaningful conversations with people that want to talk to me, but also my skills are better. So with the combination of the two, providing more value, my skills are better. I'm able to speak with more certainty, with more conviction, with more confidence, and that's a direct result that I'm able to charge more for my services.
Isn't it the craziest deal? It's like your certainty goes up with your skill set. So it's like my knowledge increases with my skill sets increase my knowledge, and in all of this becomes this confidence and ability to go out and really create the business that you really want and to really desire. And no more 12 to 14-hour days calling apartment owners or renters who are looking to buy their first home. That door to door, slinging, banging, doing the thing. Adam, it's cool that you decided to, just give us a graceful exit from the Hangout and say, hey, you know what? Screw you guys. It's like the rock star who finishes his last song, drops his mic, or smashes his guitar and walks off stage. That's cool, man. We like it. We got it. It's clean. So, dude, here's the big tag in and big kind of push, which is this. Final thoughts here for individuals who might be realtors who are watching this, who are looking to say, hey, you know what? Could be my time. We've got bigmoneyrealtors.com, which is the video series that you created for free for realtors. But why don't you talk just for a brief moment about what's going on in the mastermind and not really the features or the details of how it works. Just what can somebody expect by being in an experience like that with you?
Well, I think one of the most important things that I found of being part of coaching and mentoring groups myself, right? So I'm never asking anyone to do something that I'm not doing myself. I've invested heavily in coaching and mentoring, continue to do so, have in the past, and will continue to do so for as long as God will give me the ability. But so one of the things that people are going to experience, I think, when you come into this, number one is I'm real, right? I've got a closing right after this Hangout. And so I'm doing business just like everyone else. And so we get to share this type of experience with each other. While I'm there to coach, help you cut out the timelines and the guesswork, and really show you the shortcuts and provide all that material and all that stuff with you. The other thing that really happens, because there's so many different ways you can pick up the sales systems and marketing aspects from all these different things that people are selling from all different angles. But one of the things is, and John knows this, is I'm going to be on anyone's ass who comes into this program to get the things done. Because in the end, if I have to care more about your success than you do, starting out, I will. By the time it's all said and done, nobody will care more about your success than you will. But there's an accountability factor that just cannot be, like, there's no value you can put on something like that. To have a coach who will sit there, look you dead in the eye and say, what the hell are you doing? If I got to fly down to your home state and smack you in the forehead to get you to do what you're supposed to be doing because this is what you said you wanted and you paid me money to do it, but that's what I'll do, right? So there's just this type of, it becomes more of a family. Every mentoring group that I've been a part of, right, it just becomes like this tight-knit family where we all care about each other's success, and I genuinely care about seeing people become successful. And so the experience you get is not only a growth in your mindset, your skill sets, the way you approach the game. I want to change your financial standpoint. Obviously for the better. I want to change the type of time and freedom you have in your life. I want to give you all that, the things that you want. I want to show you how to cover that gap quickly, and so that we take out years of time for what I had to spend to learn everything that I know now. We're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars, and most of that's come within the last 18 months. So I'm trying to cut out all that stuff for everyone and to give you the life that you want, the business that's going to support it faster than you could have thought possible, while still giving you everything else in between. And I think that's the main type of experience you're going to get from this type of customized mentoring experience. This is not people have asked me why I Googled you and I didn't find the program. You won't find it out there. I don't have a bunch of DVDs I'm going to send you in the mail and wish you the best of luck. You're going to come in, you're going to meet with me. We're going to have these one-on-one, face-to-face group type experiences, and everything in between, and we're going to get you results. That's all I care about. That's all we're trying to do, and those are the experiences you're going to have. So if you've done other programs in the past, trust me, I've done them. Mike Ferry, Tom Ferry, Brian Tracy, you name it. I could go on and on, right, about all the different real estate trainers and sales trainers out there, and it worked for me, right? But there's something that if you've done all those and they haven't worked for you, it's not the program that sucks, right? There's a little extra piece that you're going to get from this type of program, this type of experience that you didn't get before, and you're going to be dealing with a real live realtor, somebody who's still in the game, still killing it, and still trying to do things in the business that you're trying to do. So we're all there to support each other, and I think that's the overall experience that somebody like John and the other people in the program ultimately get with me, and I'm sure that they would attest to that.
Awesome. John, final thoughts on your part, buddy. I know you're part of the mastermind here, so individuals looking at that, either checking out the video series at bigmoneyrealtors.com and or get accepted into the mastermind with you, they're going to be part of the game with you. So any final thoughts you'd have to realtors who might be sitting on the fence and looking at this like you were for a long time?
Yeah, it's if you're looking to basically keep doing what you're doing, you might have success, and that's great. But if you really want to fast track it, you need to have the right systems in place to do so. You need to have the right skill sets. You need to add value, and you need someone to hold you accountable. If you're missing any of those things, you're just not going to do it, or if you do it, it's going to take you 2, 3, 5 times as long, literally. So my suggestion is invest in yourself, level up, make the commitment, and you're going to see the results. And if you don't, you're just not doing it. But if you show up and really implement the strategies in place, you will see results. It's impossible not to. The way everything's mapped out for you here, you will see results. It's just the way it is.
Beautiful. John, thanks so much for sharing. Adam, I'm going to hand the time over here in just a second to close it down because you got the control panel on your side to actually stop the Hangout. But final thoughts here as we're going into this, guys. A little reminder, again, to understand the process of going from this hope to the hustle to the high-paid realtor. I can't overemphasize how important it is for you to be exposed to this message and to this content. You can check that out at bigmoneyrealtors.com. Again, free video series there. Put your email in and join the journey. For those who have already gone through that experience and or right now we're just sitting and listening saying, you know what, I want to get into it, I want to make it happen. Well, guess what? You'll go to the same location at bigmoneyrealtors.com where you'll find underneath the videos an opportunity for you to apply for a conversation with our main man, Adam, and have a conversation and see if it's a fit. The one thing I can tell you about having been around Adam and been around John and some of the guys from their mastermind is that they say no to a lot of people. And some people are ready, some people are not ready. The only way for you to figure out if it's time for you to level up and it's time for you to join a small, undercover, elite group of realtors who are crushing it in their space, in their niche, all over the country, well, it's to jump over to bigmoneyrealtors.com today. So, Adam, let me hand it over to you, buddy. Final thoughts, and go ahead and close this out.
No, absolutely. So, for everyone watching, John, Garrett, appreciate you hosting this here for us and, helping us keep this thing going. John, I appreciate you taking the time, obviously making the commitment, and anyone else who's watching, here's the deal. You have a choice to make, and, we're all presented with it. John was presented with it. The other people in the program were presented with a choice. The people that I've talked to who I've either turned away, they weren't ready, or made the decision on their own not to move forward and do this. If you're struggling, go to bigmoneyrealtors.com right now. Watch the video series. If it resonates with you, if the message sits with you, apply for the challenge. We'll have a one-on-one conversation and listen. If it's not for you, it's not for you. But what I'm set out to do here with this particular program is show you how I've made multiple six figures, how I went from literally at the bottom 20%, the top 1% in less than 6 months, and how I've stayed there ever since. This is a no BS type of group. I'm not going to fill you with a bunch of fluff and make you feel good stuff. I'm going to give you the real deal. I'm going to put you in a place where, if you so choose to do the work, you will literally be in the top 1%, if not one of the top producers, right? I mean, this is going to put you right up there with the big dogs in your marketplace. If you're ready for that, if you're ready to have more money, more accessibility, more time, and start to build a business that serves the lifestyle that you want to live, as opposed to having your lifestyle be completely all about your business. If this is you, if you're ready, go to bigmoneyrealtors.com now. Watch the video series. Apply for the challenge. We'll go from there. I appreciate everyone taking the time to be on this call. That's it for me, guys. I've got a closing literally right now. I've got to get to the bank. So I appreciate everyone stopping by. Thanks for your time. Garrett, it was a pleasure. John, thank you very much. We'll see you tomorrow on the call. Everyone else, have a great rest of your day. Go sell something. Take care.
All right.